Hey guys, I'm back with another video, and I hope that these videos have been informative in some way, shape, or form. So in this video, you'll be learning about relative pronouns. So for starters, relative pronouns introduce dependent or relative clauses, can't form sentences on their own, and connect them to independent clauses, which are sentences. So just to be more clear about that, dependent clauses are not sentences, but independent clauses are sentences. Dependent clauses rely on independent clauses to make them sentences. Relative pronouns can be people, things, or both, and the relative pronouns that I'll be discussing are who, whom, whose, that, and which. So who is a pronoun that means what or which person. It's used to refer to someone or add info about someone who was already mentioned. To test if who is being used correctly, replace it with other subject pronouns such as he, she, or they. And there will be sentence examples in the next slide. So our first example says, I have a friend who lives next to the park. As you can see, who is the subject because who is the person that's doing the action. And who is actually part of the dependent clause because who lives next to the park isn't a full sentence. But if we connect who lives next to the park with I have a friend, it becomes a whole sentence. Example 2 says, who stole my purse? And this is a question, so the same rules for example 1 don't apply for example 2, but who is still the subject, so the who is doing the action. So as you can see, who is followed by stole, and stole is an action word. So example 3 says, I don't like people who bully others. As you can see, who is the subject because who is the one that's doing the action. And who is also part of the dependent clause because who bully others isn't a full sentence, but when we put who bully others with I don't like people, it creates a full sentence. Next, I'll be discussing whom. Whom is a pronoun as well as the object form of who. Whom is used in formal writing to refer to people. To test if whom is being used correctly, replace it with other object pronouns such as him, her, and them. And I'll be putting examples in the next slide. So example 1 says, I'm going to dinner with a friend whom I grew up with. As you can see, whom is the object because whom is receiving the action. It's not doing the action, it's receiving the action. And whom is also connecting the dependent clause, whom I grew up with the independent clause, I'm going to dinner with a friend. Example 2 says, whom will the letter be addressed to? We can check if we use whom correctly by replacing whom with the other object pronouns. We could say the letter would be addressed to him, or the letter will be addressed to them. And so that makes sense. So this is the correct use of whom. Example 3 says, I am planning on inviting the lady whom I saw at the bus stop. So as you can see, whom connects the dependent clause, whom I saw at the bus stop, with the independent clause, I am planning on inviting the lady. Whose shows ownership and is the possessive form of who. Whose can refer to people, things, or animals. So example 1 says, the dog whose leg is broken is going to the vet. Whose is also commonly used to give us extra info about something. So like in example 1, if we take out whose leg is broken, the sentence will say the dog is going to the vet. So whose leg is broken is just extra info about the dog. Example 2 says, the lady whose car broke down had to walk to work. So as you can see, the car belongs to the lady, and that's why we said the lady whose car broke down, because it's a possessive pronoun and it shows ownership. Example 3 says, the little boy whose shirt is red just fell off the swing. So as you can see, we're talking about the little boy's shirt, and that's why we use whose. Next we have that, and that is used for essential clauses. In other words, without the word that in the sentence, the meaning of the sentence would change. commas aren't used with that. So example 1 says, I'm using my umbrella that I bought yesterday. So we wouldn't say, I'm using my umbrella I bought yesterday. We would say, I'm using my umbrella that I bought yesterday. So as you can see, if we take that out, it would make the sentence sound different. I feel like we wouldn't say, I'm using my umbrella I bought yesterday, but we could say, I'm using my umbrella, period, I bought it yesterday. Or we could say, I bought an umbrella yesterday and I'm using it. But yeah, we just don't say, I'm using my umbrella I bought yesterday. I know it sounds like you kind of can say that, but yeah, we don't say that. Example 2 says, I want the pink Skechers that light up. So as you can see, if we took that out, it would say, I want the pink Skechers light up. And obviously that would make sense. Example 3 says, I want a dog that has small ears. So as you can see, if we take out that, the sentence would say, I want a dog has small ears. And obviously that would make sense. And that's why we included the word that, so that the sentence could make sense. In other words, the word that is essential to understanding the meaning of the sentence. It's actually essential to the sentence making sense. Next, we have which, and which is used for non-essential clauses. In other words, extra info is used, but the meaning of the sentence will stay the same, even if the extra info is taken out. So example 1 says, my car, which is very unreliable, broke down while I was driving to work. So notice how if we took out which is very unreliable, the sentence would read, my car broke down while I was driving to work. So the sentence would still make sense. And that's why which is very unreliable is considered a non-essential clause. Example 2 says, my hair, which is very curly, is hard to manage at times. So notice how if we took out which is very curly, the sentence would read, my hair is hard to manage at times. So the sentence would still make sense. And that's why which is very curly is considered a non-essential clause, because it's just extra info that doesn't need to be there. Example 3 says, her mom's house, which is huge, is located by the beach. So if we took out which is huge, which is the non-essential clause, the sentence would say her mom's house is located by the beach, and this would make sense. So you can see why which is huge would be considered a non-essential clause, because it's just extra info that doesn't need to be there. Thank you guys for coming. I hope you found this video informative. If you did find this video informative, please feel free to like, comment, or subscribe, or all of the above, and I'll see you next time.